Alright, guys, buckle up and hold on to your matza because we are diving into one of the most dramatic, action packed, and honestly kind of girl story in the Bible, the 10 plagues of Egypt, or I would like to call it when Pharaoh played himself. God tells Moses, go to Pharaoh and tell him, let my people go. Moses kind of nervous is like, what if he says no? God, I got to trust the process. And as we all know, Moses went to Pharaoh and Pharaoh refused, and this was what happened. God caused 10 plagues on the Egyptians before the Israelites were set free. And we'll dive into the first plague, which is the Nile turning into blood. Moses taps the water with his staff, and boom, fish belly up, everything smells like sushi gone wrong. And Pharaoh's like, nah, I'm good. The second plague was frogs. You know, it was like, okay, let my people go, and Pharaoh was like, no, I won't. So God released the second plague, which is the frogs. Not cute little ones either. We are talking about your bed, frogs in your oven, frogs in your cereals, frogs in Pharaoh's magician do the same because everyone needs more frog. But still, Pharaoh's heart was eyes blocked. He was so adamant. And the third plague was night. It was the swine of night. Tiny flying mystery makers. They bite. They were everywhere. Even Pharaoh's magicians are like, this is totally God, bro. And Pharaoh was like, still no. The fourth, flies. Imagine Times Square in summer when the flies that won't stop buzzing into your ears. And guess what? Israelites in Goshen, no flies. God said, not my people. So these flies and all these plagues are only happening where the Egyptians live. And now this is the fifth plague. Cows, horses, goats, name all the livestock you can. They were all dead. The Egyptians were mourning, and the Israelites were what? They were chilling. Pharaoh still playing hard to get. Well, God was not done yet. The next plague was boils. Painful, itchy boils on everyone's body. Even Pharaoh's magician can't show up to work because this is too much for them to bear. Because they were covered in boils. But you know what? God had in Pharaoh's heart, and God is not even done yet. Let's continue. The seventh were hailstorm. Hailstorm were everywhere. You know, snow will usually fall and it will be, it will be kind of cool. But this one was hailstorm. But not your grandma's hails. This was thunder fire and like eyes from the sky. Egypt looked like a CGI disaster movie. Pharaoh gets scared and say, okay, fine, make it stop. Moses, make it stop. Pharaoh, just kidding. And now we move on to the eighth plague, locust. Green, crunchy plague rockets that devours everything. Pharaoh's own officials are like, dude, just let them go. The torture was too much. The pain, the torture, the agony, name it. And Pharaoh was like, no, we are fine. Maybe he thought after sometimes all of them would go away and then they would get their life back to normal. But God wasn't done. And I'm sure the Egyptians will say, oh, this Pharaoh is weird. We have a problem. And now the ninth plague, which is darkness. Thick, paralyzing darkness for 3 whole days. People couldn't see each other or leave their houses because it was dark, like darkness, dark. In the Israelites houses, they had light. Pharaoh still said no, and I mean it. God was okay. Final round, time to break your heart. What? Oh, Jesus. So let's move ahead. Let's forge ahead. The death of the firstborn. God gives the Israelites a way out. Sacrifice a lamb. Put his blood on your door, and death will pass over your houses. Fine. At midnight, every Egyptian firstborn died, even Pharaoh's son. And this was heartbreaking. They were wailing, and it was unbearable. Finally, Pharaoh calls out Moses and said, go, just go, take everything and leave. I don't even want to feel. I wanted to say, I don't know, I will just feel the relaxing on their mind. But then I don't even want to be on the side of the Israelites nor on the side of the Egyptian, because this is terrifying. And Moses said, don't mind if we do. And Pharaoh was like, get the hell out of Egypt. And that is how their freedom began. So what is the moral lessons of this story? Because every good story needs some takeaways. So the first moral story here is, don't mess with God. Don't make God a joke. Seriously, Pharaoh tried 10 times, didn't head well. You can see. So don't disrespect God, don't disobey God, don't disobey his commandments. God is a God of vengeance, and you won't want God to visit you with his wrath. Second is, God protects his people. Even in the Bible, in the midst of chaos, Goshen still stayed safe. Goshen is where the Israelites stayed in Egypt. So the third is, obedience matter. The Israelites obeyed God's instruction and were spared. Moses also obeyed God's instruction and they were freed. Fourth, pride can ruin you, because the Israelites were slaves in Egypt for many years, more than 400 years, and yet you will not allow them go. And then he paid for it because he wouldn't let go, and that was because he was prideful. The last is, freedom comes with faith, patience, and it comes with praying. It took time and trust, but God delivered his people. So guys, and that is the story of the 10 plagues, the story of how Pharaoh failed and how the Israelites were freed and were delivered, and how they moved to Canaan, which is the promised land. Stay humble, stay faithful, and maybe don't ignore God whenever he sends a plague or two to you. Thank you so much for watching up to this moment. See you in another video. My name is Uche. Bye.